Hi everybody, my name is Jenna Marie. I'm a singer and I'm so excited to present to you the 2021 Big Band Exchange hosted by North York Arts. We're here at the iconic Lula Lounge and I am joined by two incredible dancers and inspiring humans. I have Natasha Powell here, dancer extraordinaire, and I have Travis Knights here, tap dancer extraordinaire. And we're going to talk all about jazz, the culture behind jazz, the past, the lineage. We're going to talk about the present. We're going to talk about institutions. We're going to talk about swing. We're going to talk about as much as we can in the time that we have. And I can't wait to share it all with you at home. So thank you so much for being here. Without further ado, let's talk about jazz.
The improvisation, the digging, just the soul, the pulse of it. It helps me arrive to this place of getting closer to who I feel like I am as a human being and who Natasha is as a human being and what I have to offer this world and as a human being. That's what jazz is for me. You know, it's opened its arms to me and it's embraced me and it says you are welcome here, you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are complicated, and it's all okay. That's what jazz is for me.
I try not to cry.
Yeah.
It's so important. Yeah, I dig it. Jazz, it feels like jazz is a value system. It's culture. It's a way of being. It's a way of knowing. Jazz is an attitude. Jazz is complex. Jazz is simple. Jazz is its own universe that spills into others. Jazz is home. Jazz is a people. It's a lineage. It's a gift. It encourages us to be ourselves. It actually demands it. I'm grateful to it.
That's where I'm at. I think jazz has really allowed me to discover who I am as a musician, but also as a person, like as a being who makes a lot of mistakes and who, like, this music encourages people to try something different every time, to challenge yourself. It's freedom, it's expression, but it's also about moving forward. Like, there's motion in the music and in the study and in the practice of jazz. It's so important to know where you started, where the music started, and then to move in a direction and hold all of that together and try something new and different. And I love that about jazz, and I'm grateful for that about jazz. I feel like ever since I started singing jazz and learning about jazz, I've had this like independence in me, you know, the ability to show up with whoever is there and just play. And that freedom has been like revolutionary for me, to be able to go into a room of people that I've never met in my whole life and there's a language there.
All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see?
I cannot even know the music we're playing. I don't even have to know the song. It helps. I don't really have to if I've studied enough and I understand this music enough to know. And the community has taught me so much about myself.
I'm actually looking for a community. You know, I'm constantly in search. That's why I kind of cling to you. I apologize if I'm overstepping constantly.
I love it.
But it's like community is 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3.5. Don't quote me on time, but Christian Podlaka and I got together at the Transact Club and started doing this jam thing. And then maybe the first night, great, or maybe the second night, you walked in and blessed us with your amazing voice. You and Christian are my first really idea or experience with an actual local jazz community. And we grew this thing called the Jazz United Jam. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal to me. The community that we nurtured is something that I'll remember forever and a day. And it completely changed my relationship to the music, to the culture, and advanced the ideas that I currently have about jazz. It's so important, this idea of community.
As a vocalist, it's very hard sometimes to enter a space and be welcome there, especially in a jam space. That there's a lot of reasons for that. I think misogyny, and I think that, you know, instrumentalists sometimes would prefer not having a singer there. And I think for me, that was a big, big moment in my whole jazz life and career when I walked into that space for the first time. Because normally, as vocalist enters a jazz jam space with some fear, and you have to have a willingness to fight, to get in there and take your space. And there's often not even a microphone, not even a PA for you to sing. You know, and you have to prove yourself that you can hang, that you know the tunes, that you can solo, that you can follow the form. You have to prove yourself. Up until that moment, that had always been what I went into every jam space, like with that intention and with that stress and that feeling. And then I entered that space, and the second, like literally during a song, the second that I entered the space, Christian yelled at me, "Jenna, you're here!" I was like, "What?" Like, yes. And I was like, "I'm just gonna sit down in the corner."
Yeah.
Right away, you wanna come do a song? Come play a song.
Yeah.
And I saw you tap dancing. I had never seen tap dancer in person in my whole life. Never mind like improvising in a jazz context, right? To be invited into that was the beginning of something that I think, you know, we know was really special with the Jazz United. But for me, that was like a big moment where I was like, I need to be, this might be my community. I was searching for one, you know, a jazz community. And maybe this is the one.
Something about this word searching that keeps kind of coming up. And when you talk about like being a vocalist at the Jam, and I didn't encounter the Jam until like its last days, but when I had a moment with you, Jenna, and I can't remember what you were singing, and we had this like eye exchange, and it completely transformed the way I danced, the way I felt, the way I embodied the music. Your words just poured in, like literally like a bucket, like poured into me, and I just imagined a transformation that happened, and I'll never forget it.
A mentor of mine was in my ear before Jazz United Jam. Her name's Roxanne Butterfly. Shout out to Roxanne Butterfly. She was in my ear talking about her experience in New York at the jam session called La Cave. It was a jam at La Cave, and Dr. Jimmy Slide would drive, masterful dancer, Dr. Jimmy Slide would drive from Boston to New York every week to run this jam. It was so important for him that the dance lived, right? Okay. So what he would say, I'm thinking about what you said about feeling nervous and not necessarily being welcome a lot of times, but what he would say to dancers that walked into the room: show me a little time. Before you get up there and work with these musicians, show me a little time. Show me that you can hang. essentially. And then he'd allow or give advice to practice. But for the sake of the room, for the vibe of the jam itself, I wonder what you think about that filter, I guess.
I mean, this music is complex. It's advanced, And that doesn't mean that it's not communal, though, and it's not accessible.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a tradition that led us to this moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you do have to know what's going on to be able to actually be a part of the magic and to serve the music and this history, I think. And if they're not there yet, I think that it would be a disservice to the music and to the jam space and to the hang if the person can't hang. We say that a lot in jazz. Hang is like a big thing, it's a big concept. It's like, can you be a part of the thing? And I think for us, when we were at Jazz United, the people that are present in the room are probably just as important, at least for me, as the people actually playing. Because it's their energy and their active listening and the conversation in the community. And so maybe someone can't hang yet, but they can hang. Right? Until they learn and they process and they internalize it and they practice. And then they come back.
What are the things that we're working through on our own when you're talking about like just hanging, observing, studying, active listening, dancing in the room, like listening to music, dancing with your ears, dancing with your eyes. Like, how do I myself as a person do my own internal work so that I can show up for others and be contributing to the form and be contributing to the culture, so that I'm not just showing up and, hey guys, what do you got for me? What am I contributing to the culture? What am I bringing?
Today, there's a lot of well-intentioned people that are like doing the work and understanding more of the history of the music, more of the history of the culture. But I feel like there's a stop where they'll turn back to their students and say, this is the history. They were treated so poorly, but yet these people, they rose up through this music, they rose up in their community. And now let's play these notes, or let's do this dance and blah, blah, blah. But the question that you raised, or the idea that you raised, was, what are you bringing to the culture? Not taking from the, what are you bringing to the culture? Before Jazz United, I felt, noticed, observed that the musicians are over here, the dancers are over there pressing play. We become siloed. And if you look at the high agenda, if you look at a lot of major institutions that teach music and dance today, you'll find this siloed place. And so these young people are paying this money to learn these respective crafts, and they're exiting not necessarily, but for the fact, honestly, but for what we did at Jazz United, after graduating with high honors from U of T in music, would you have had exposure to dancers?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know before I went to school, there were I heard stories of one or two sprinkles of dancers doing a master class. you know, but not actually being immersed with it. There was one African dance and drum course that you could take, but that's not on the jazz end.
Why would it be?
It's in the faculty of music, you know. It's I think that's the only one.
Yeah.
And in that one, you would go and you dance as you're learning how to drum because it's part of the whole thing, right? But otherwise, I mean, no.
Your goodbye. Let me with eyes that cry. How can I go one day without you? How can I? You took the part that once was mine. So why not? So why not? So why not take all of me?
There's this like clip of I nerd out on it. I just like I should like put it on my alarm. It's just lovely to wake up to. There's a clip of Dizzy Gillespie doing the shim sham while scatting. He's dancing. This masterful musician composer is dancing. Why? Because he's a part of the culture, which means that he's a part of this scene. He's been hanging in this scene where dancers and musicians and singers and poets and visual artists all hung together. You know, the art that came from that time is something that was extracted, and taught for a price, and siloed. So how did we get here where we're talking about jazz and we have to reintroduce the idea to, quite frankly, major jazz festivals all around the planet that no, it's not just the music, it is a culture, it is a lineage, there's a history to it, there's a reason why. And the power of it is we can find ourselves and each other through this form, through the values that are inherent in this form. And yes, it goes forward. But if it's not connected to what it was originally, then where are we going? You know, I'm afraid that we're going off a cliff if we continue to be siloed. And this pandemic has made me even more anxious about our being siloed from each other. And I think jazz is the answer. Jazz culture, is the answer.